Hello, everyone. My name is Serena. This is the Goddess International podcast, and today we are hosting our guest, Elahn Danee. And Elahn, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, hey everybody. My name is Elahn Danee. I am a tech and mindset coach. So what that means is that I help people learn how to code, and I also help people, get through any limiting beliefs that they have in their mind so that they can manifest their dream life.
Yes, that's awesome. So today we wanted to talk to you a little bit about social media,
Yes.
a fear of rejection, and just getting over the fear of putting yourself out there because I know we both dealt a lot with that and
Yes.
talked each other through all of it.
A lot of times.
Thank God we had each other. And I
Yes.
know not everybody has somebody that they can really lean on with this. So we just wanted to give you guys a little bit about our backstory and some of the things that we did to get over it, to get through it, and hopefully some of it can help you too.
Yeah.
So, Elahn, do you want to start with your journey and kind of pushing through all of this social media stuff?
So let me start back with just the whole learning how to code. So I started learning how to code due to the quarantine and the pandemic and seeing so many people lose their jobs. I was thinking like, you know what? Job security is found in the tech industry. So I should learn how to code. But then like 2021 came around and I went down this whole spiritual journey, and at first I thought it was a distraction from me learning how to code and just me not being disciplined. But I started to realize that my spiritual journey had everything to do with learning how to code, and it was about me just getting my mind right to allow the reality shift that I want into my world, where it wasn't just about learning this skill. It was like, how do I learn? And how do I like identify with what I'm learning, if that makes sense? So with learning how to code, I realized it's like, it's not just about having a job. Because, jobs come and go, and in my opinion, job security is not real.
Yeah.
It's not real.
Yeah.
As we can see today with all of the tech layoffs and everything, job security is not real. Security comes from within. And so that is where I'm at now. And what I want to help other people learn is that to basically unleash the power that is within, that divine power that everybody holds. And that is where all of our security,
Yes.
That's where the real security is. So yeah, it's like it went from me learning how to code to get a job to me just becoming spiritual and realizing that, our thoughts create our reality. And that is something that I feel like everybody needs to know, and that I would want to help other people learn and learn how to use the power of their minds.
Right. And I love that you said that the security is created on the inside, because
Yes.
I don't think a lot of people realize that if you don't feel secure on the inside, you're never going to be secure on the outside.
Never.
Never. And if you are in this state of like, oh my God, I'm in panic, and then all
Yes.
you're going to start attracting is bad, more
Yes.
panicking situations. And
Yeah.
if you're like, you know what? Boo, I'm secure.
Yeah,
I'm not even
yeah.
worried about it. Then you're
Yeah.
never going to have to worry about it, because you're always going to be continually like pushing yourself forward.
Yeah. Okay.
love that.
And I feel like I love where this topic is going, because I was thinking about this on the way here, is that even when it comes to putting myself out there and, building this business, making more content, it's like sometimes, and this is something that I have experienced when it came to learning how to code, was that when you're learning something new and you're trying something different, there comes this point where you can't help but try to problem solve everything. And so you feel like it's an uphill battle, because all you're looking at things is through the lens of problem solving, and that everything is a problem.
Yes.
And so you start to attract more problems because you're addicted to the problem solving, because, like you're afraid to just allow things to happen I don't know. It's
I almost feel like it's like allowing the distraction to push you in a different way to keep you from moving forward in the direction you're supposed to be going.
Yeah.
It's almost like, you know, when you're like, you know what, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do it right now. And you're on your way and you are like, oh, there's dust on that table. I'm going to procrastinate. I'm going to do that. So it's almost like a secondary form of procrastination.
I think so too. And for me, I guess like say for example, when it came to building my website, like it just felt like an uphill battle. It was like, okay, what tools did I need? And then also like me doing it alone. Mm-hmm. And like, okay, how do I host my website? Like, where do I go? And everything's a problem. and that's just something that I'm working on. It's just like, I want things to be done so fast.
Yes.
Because if I'm not doing things like quickly, I feel like, you know, I am procrastinating. But so it makes me feel like I have to do it even faster. Mm-hmm. I don't know. It's like, I'm still learning about this.
It's like you won't succeed if it's not just done.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
But it's funny because every podcast that I have listened to is like, don't even worry about being ready. Just do it. Yeah. Just jump into it. Which really does make sense, though, because you're never technically gonna be ready, right?
Never.
Like, when is ready?
Never.
In reality.
Yeah.
So, like, you know, when I started my website, I was doing the same thing, and you're in tech, so I'm not, like, you know, I ran this multi-million-dollar company, but we had people that did tech for us, you know? I didn't even do the constant contact stuff. I just ran the employee aspect of it. So, you know, I'm right there with you. It was so hard doing all of that stuff, and I'm like Googling every single thing that I could do.
Yes,
I watched so many YouTube videos.
Everything.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's definitely a learning curve, but don't you feel so good?
Yeah.
Like moving through that mountain, saying, I did it.
Yeah.
I didn't have to resort to paying somebody to do it.
Yeah.
Because believe me, I thought about that.
Yeah.
Like every day.
Yeah, every day.
Wanting
to make
to pay
it easier.
somebody to do it. Yes. But I did it, and you did it, and I just think that that's so great. And your website looks amazing. So.
Thank you. And it is like we're that part of enjoying the journey, because then you get to look back on what you've done, and you're like, I'm a baddie, like.
Bitch, I built that.
I don't know if you can cuss on here, but I'm like, I'm a bad bitch. Like, I did that?
Yes.
I did that. Yes. Like, come on now. Like, it's almost like, why even doubt yourself at that point when you know that, like, you moved through all of these roadblocks, which weren't even roadblocks. Mm-hmm. It was just something that was just annoying at the time.
Yes, that's so true. It's definitely, they seem like such big mountains, and then you get way ahead of it, and you look back, and you're like, anthills? What?
Yeah. So, okay, my question is, I don't know if I can ask you questions on the podcast, but
go for it.
So, like, I know that we were talking and planning to talk about is, you know, taking the risk of listening to your own voice. Mm-hmm. So, like, okay, how did you feel when you were doing, like, the Googling and watching hella YouTube videos and, like, you know, even, like, maybe researching on Instagram or anything like that? Like, how did you feel when it came to, like, putting yourself out there and, you know, taking that risk of, like, do I listen to them or do I listen to me?
So I think you have to find a really good balance of both, right? Yeah. So for me, watching YouTube videos was more, like, educational, right? Like, I had to watch a video to figure out how to add something to my website or how to incorporate something, or, you know, for me, it's the ins and outs. Like, if you push this button, what happens over here? So that aspect of it was fine. Where I ran into where I needed to listen to myself was, instead of just letting my creativity kind of flourish, I would second guess myself, and I would start looking at everybody else's website, everybody else's Instagram, everybody else's Facebook, and, like, the people who I looked up to who were mentors for me, I would go and be like, well, how did she do it? And then I had to, like, stop and just, like, shut it down to the point where really, like, I don't look at other people's pages anymore.
Yeah.
I get on, I do my content stuff, and then I get off.
Hop off.
Yeah, because I'll get stuck.
Me too.
And I don't like that. And
It's not fun.
no, and I don't think that it would create as much of an impact if I wasn't really true to myself and what message I feel like I'm here to bring.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. No, I agree. Yeah.
So, what about you?
I feel like same, like even just yesterday, and for me it's like just really taking it all one day at a time. Taking it all one day at a time, because there'll be days where I'm like, I don't give a fuck, like I'm here, I'm me, I'm original, I'm doing me. But there are other days where I feel a little insecure and like, am I doing things right?
Right.
Especially when it comes to manifesting, it's like wondering like, okay, when is it gonna come? Like I have faith, like I know everything's gonna work out, but when is it gonna come?
Yes.
And so like I started questioning, and then I'm like, okay, am I doing things right?
Yes.
Am I doing it right?
Yes.
And then like that's when I can kind of spiral, and I'm looking at other people's like what are they doing right? Like how can I like do it right? And so like that'll drive you crazy.
I agree.
That'll
And I think no matter what, I shouldn't say everybody. I think most of us are doing it right.
Yes.
But no matter what, as we go through, like we know now that the biggest things that hold us back are our limiting beliefs, right? So usually if we're not hitting the income cap that we want to hit, or if we can't seem to get over fear, it's because of an underlying limiting belief. But we're human beings and we're consistently growing, and you could be like, I nipped that limiting belief in the butt a year ago, and then you're walking down the street and something triggers you and you're like, oh shit, here it is again.
Yes.
You know? And
you again.
It's like continual work. So, you know, even I literally was just going through that same feeling yesterday. Like, okay, like this is the goal that I'm working towards. Like, where is it at, universe? Come on.
Yeah, like
chop.
I'm ready. I am ready. Yeah. Like, I'm going to say it right now, I'm ready. But yeah, it's also like, when is it going to come? And I guess it's just like catching myself in that moment. Like, okay, that's enough. Like, you're doing great. Like, that, like, internal validation, that self-reassurance. Like, you're doing great. You're doing fine. It's a journey. All is well. Like, talking myself down, you know?
I think that that's so important, too, because then if you can genuinely do that, I feel like that's when you know that you're not coming from a lack mindset. Yeah. Because that's where I was at yesterday. I was like panicking, like, am I in a lack mindset? Like, is that where I'm at? And then I was like, no, because I don't like need it. I just want it, you know? Yeah. And I think that it's good that you're aware and that you're continually putting yourself in check, because that's how you know that you're aware.
Yeah. And like, also with not identifying with it, it's like, I'm experiencing this feeling. I'm experiencing this feeling of insecurity, but I don't have to identify with it. It doesn't have to be my story. Yes. And it also, it does, a part of it is like that fear of rejection, you know, like the fear of rejection, maybe being rejected by the universe, like that fear, I don't know.
I think that it's so daunting anymore, because even if you don't necessarily like, you know, a lot of people have a limiting belief around rejection. Yes. But, like, let's just say that you haven't even necessarily had, like, somebody really attack you yet. Yeah. You hear so many horror stories about it. And then you see all of these, like, crazy, genuine, awesome people like Tony Robbins. And then the people that are, like, attacking him. And you're like, what? You know, I guess, like, you understand it. Like, you understand the further that you go that it's not them. It's, you know, their inner child has a ton of healing that they need to do. And I think that when you can look at it from that perspective, like, it makes things just so much simpler. Like, they're not personally attacking you. They just have a lot of stuff that they've probably been attacked about.
And felt held back by.
Yeah, you know, it for some reason they're being mean to you because somebody was probably mean to them, or
they just don't believe that it's possible to get
jealousy, exactly, or they just don't know, you know, it's just they don't understand, you know, and their soul wants to be there and their mind doesn't. So
and I think that's one thing that I realized, that like, because even when I posted like a YouTube short, like I got a negative comment about my makeup, and I'm like, okay. Like, it really, like, in the end, like, it doesn't affect you at all. I mean, unless you let it.
Yes.
And, like, I just told him, like, focus on the message, not my makeup. Like, I look gorgeous. Like, I told him that. Just because it's, like, you could be spreading so much positive energy, and then you'll get a negative comment that has nothing to do with what you're saying.
And I think that everybody who's, like, there for the positivity goes through and they see that comment like, oh, screw that person. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's not really affecting anybody else at all.
And you could delete it.
Yes!
You wouldn't even, like, remember, like, what they said like 5 years later because you just deleted it.
Right.
So I feel like positive energy goes way further than negative energy, especially because people do have the power to just ignore it. Tunnel vision, like, against it. So...
Yeah. I think, I was just thinking, I wish that everybody could, like, see our text messages about, like, just do it. Just do it. Like, it's don't so be positive. Afraid. Yes. Yeah. Because when I know when I first started, and I know I watch your videos sometimes and I get jealous because I'm like, oh my gosh, I wish that I just was so, like, fearless, because I know, like, the things that go through my head still. Like, I mean, I do it. Yeah. But there's still always, like, I'm probably the worst critic on myself. It's Same. Like, a lot of times I'll make a video and then I'll just post it. Yeah. I don't even look at it because I know I'm, like, my own worst critic.
Yeah, and, like, I can obsess over my stuff. That's why it's like, I agree. It's like that post and go. Yes. Sometimes that's the best thing to do, is just post and go.
And I think it's more genuine that way, too. Yeah. Because I see, like, people post videos, and not that I'm judging or anything, but it'll be, like, 2 seconds, and then you'll see, like, where it, like, shutters back to where they, like, clipped it and clipped it and clipped it and clipped it. Yeah. And I get it, because if I just, like, did it, I mean, I can't even tell you how many times I've, like, started recording and then stopped, and then re-recorded and then stopped. Yeah. Which I'm sure everybody does that, but I would prefer to just have, like, little bloopers here and there, let it be super real. Yeah. And then just run with it.
Just run with it, and I think that's... Especially when you think about, like, and I kind of talked about this on my own live stream about perfection fatigue. I feel like a lot of people are exhausted with being perfect. And it's not even necessary. And a lot of people can't even really connect to that whole super polished, super perfect, like, whatever, like, that image. So it's like, I think it does come off more genuine when it is a little rough around the edges.
Yes, I think so too. And I think that we're also coming to, like, a time in the world right now where people are kind of over the fake bullshit, right? Yes. Like, yes. Like, you don't have to be a size 0 and, you know, just to fit in. Like, I feel like there's a lot more acceptance, and I feel like now is probably, like, the most I've ever seen in my lifetime where, like, no matter what, you're accepted. Like, it doesn't matter. I do too.
I love it. And I think it's, like, because it is crazy when you think back, like, it's almost been 3 years since the pandemic. And, like, that was a point where, like, I thought the world was freaking ending.
I remember.
And people were, like, you know, fighting over toilet paper, hoarding hand sanitizer. So now that things have kind of gotten back to normal, it's like we shouldn't really go back to, like, where we were in 2019. You know what I mean? Yes. Where it's like trying to fit this perfect image. It's like, no, like, we survived, like, something that was, like, super huge.
And everybody was like, I really like sweatpants.
Yeah. And like, we saw, like, where things kind of fell apart. And now we are fortunate to be back up and running again. But it's also, like, it is a time where we should just be our authentic selves. Yes. Even when it comes to, like me quitting my job. Like, it was because it's, like, after seeing the world the way it was, it's like, I can't go back to that, you know? Like, it's time to face my fears, like, and put myself out there and be the woman that I want to be, you know? So, because to be quarantined for, like, another year or so, like, and to be like held up, you know, like that restriction feeling. It's like, no, I want to be free, even if that means like facing fears,
right,
and a fear of rejection. So
yes, yeah. So I think that we should talk a little bit about limiting beliefs in general.
Okay.
So, and maybe like just understanding the fear of rejection, why so many people are afraid to come on here, because it's not necessarily where it is fear of other people commenting on you, and it is a fear of, you know, yourself, right?
Yes.
But underlying the belief is generally a fear of rejection or a fear of not being enough.
Yeah.
Right? So I just wanted to dive into a couple of things. And I know, do you feel comfortable talking about your story and like how you felt rejected?
Sure. Like, okay, like, yeah.
Not that I'm putting you on the spot.
Yeah,
or anything.
no. I feel like it's like to speak on it, it's like, it's more powerful. I may
Absolutely.
feel a little teary-eyed.
That's okay.
But it's just like, okay, so I will say, when I was little, like, I had, like, a friend group. It was, like, maybe, like, 8 years old. And, like, we were on the playground, and for some reason they said, like, we don't want to play with you anymore. Mm-hmm. And that, like, crushed me. It literally crushed me. Like, yes. I cried. Like, I was, like, swinging on the swing set by myself and, like, feeling all down about myself. And, like, there was a science fair project that I didn't do, and I didn't tell my parents until the last minute because I was just so heartbroken over it. Yeah. And it was just like, looking back, it could have been my own insecurities that manifested, but it's also like that I've realized like that fear of rejection, that it was almost like where I felt like I wasn't good enough for people, like to put myself out there. And it was like that little moment like made me question myself for years and years and years. And it was like, I didn't even realize it until like maybe a few weeks ago, like after we were talking. Right. And it was just like this fact that something as simple as like rejection on the playground. Yes. Can like, you can't play with us. So it's like, if you take that and you look at in the world where people are being themselves, they're becoming multimillionaires every day, they're living their dreams, and here I am in a job that I fucking hate and I can't stand, and I know I'm better than it, and I have more talents that I can showcase than that job. Like, not to shit on the job, you know, but it was like, I have greater ambitions than that job. Yeah. And here I am working this job that I don't like, and I'm trying to be loyal to it as much as I can, but I can't help but want to get away, like, where even, like, my body is shutting down on me because it's like, what am I doing? Yeah. And it was like...
It wasn't your purpose.
It was not my purpose. For some reason, like, I still had that fear of, like, leaving because, you know, I didn't want to be broke. Money... You know, that limiting belief is like money doesn't grow on trees. And you can't get rich following your dreams. And this was at a time where, you know, I had just maybe gone through my spiritual awakening, where it was like, okay, now that I'm awake and I know that like I can manifest my dream life, why am I here?
And I was so proud of you because you just jumped ship.
Yeah.
I mean, you were just like, nope, not my purpose, jumping ship.
Yeah. Bye, guys.
It took me forever to like, you know, like, okay, I'm on my exit route, going out. But it took, I mean, you were just like, boom. Yeah. And that was so great.
Thank you. And it was just also like going back to that fear of rejection from the playground. It was like, you can't play with us. So if translating that is like, people are becoming multimillionaires, they're following their dreams, they're living their best life, and it's almost like that same thing is like, we're having so much fun over here, living out our purpose, being happy and doing what we want to do, and you can't play with us. And it's like even today I have to tell myself, I can fucking play. I have a right to fucking play.
You can't play.
Yeah.
I can play.
I'm fucking playing. I'm not putting myself on the bench. Like, no. Like, after everything through a quarantine, through a pandemic, through my spiritual awakening, bitch, I'm here. Yes. Like, what? There's nothing, for me, there's, like, nothing else but this.
Yeah.
There's nothing left but this. And it's like, I am not afraid of my fears like that.
Right.
Like, the fears, they're still there, but I'm not its puppet.
Right.
Like, I am not its puppet.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, I'm going to do me. And whatever happens. Like, where the chips fall, they will fall. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So it's also like, and that's my right.
Mm-hmm.
As a human being, that is my right to take that risk, to be me, to do me, to live my dreams, and whatever happens.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah. No, I love it. So, yeah, I think for me, I was so overweight as a young child until I was probably like 10 or 11. And it was like everybody at school made fun of me. My parents made fun of me. My dad was always telling me, like, are you going to eat that? You know, which is a whole other story on its own. But then also having a father who was really successful and was very... what word am I looking for? Very, like, he thinks that men are capable, you know, of achieving everything that they want, and women don't, right? Like, men make more money. Men are the smart ones. Men are whatever, right? So in that, it was like every time I was like, well, what about this? Well, no, that's not how we do it. You know what I mean? So constantly getting rejected in that aspect, and same, kind of constantly being rejected with other people because I didn't look the same. I had freckles, right? Oh. Like, now it's like a cool thing to have freckles. Right? When I was little, oh my God, it was like not cool at all to have freckles. I was like
how annoying.
Different. Funny story. I remember in like kindergarten, this girl gave me a jar of water, and she told me it was like a magic potion to get rid of all my freckles. And I was
what
like,
a hater.
I know, right? And I was like, okay. And then I was like, I rubbed it in and put it on, and then like 2 minutes later I was like, no, I like my freckles, you know? Like, it was just like instant, like, no, it's not me. And then obviously it was just water, and I was just kindergartner, you know what I mean?
You're but
kids are mean.
Yeah,
they're so mean. And it's funny because you wouldn't necessarily think that rejection would root itself in so deep from something as trivial as being rejected on a playground, but it really does. And then your ego just takes that hurt, you know, your emotion, and says, nope, not letting that happen again.
Yeah, and you make it a part of your identity.
Yes. And so, you know, everybody thinks your ego is such a bad thing, and it's not. It's really just trying to protect you. It just can get out of control, and you have to get it unchecked.
Yeah.
So, you know, and then it kind of revolves, and then as you get older, like you hit high school, kids are not any fucking nicer in high school, you know, and depending on what side of, you know, the lunchroom you're sitting on. Yeah. And, you know, it just, you get a job or you don't get a job. Maybe you're trying to get a job and you get rejected, and then your ego's just like, no. And you just start shutting down more. And it's really sad because there's so many incredible, beautiful souls in this world that have so much to say. Yes. And they just don't. Yeah. Because they don't feel like they can, and they don't feel like they're worthy that they can, which is literally why I started Goddess International, because it's just not okay. Yeah. It's not okay that there's so many beautiful people out there that don't have a voice. Yeah. Yeah. And we're going to fix it. Yeah.
Helping people.
Yep. Coming for you guys. So just so the audience, I've made a little list of some of the things that maybe you don't even think about necessarily, but that can cause some pretty deep roots of rejection. And it can be stuff like being bullied. Yes. Something like, you know, like Elahn was saying, not being able to play with a certain group. If you have a physical condition that makes you feel like you're not the same as other people, you can literally feel rejection from birth. So just so you guys kind of know, when you're looking at this in like a scientific level, you can actually go back through epigenetics for 14 generations. So it could also not even be a rejection that you personally have felt. It could be something that's a generational trauma as well. But, you know, something as simple as being picked last on team. Mm-hmm. Nobody ever wanted to be picked last on the team. Mm-hmm. That's rejection. Mm-hmm. dismissive parents. Kids that should be, seen and
not
not heard.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know we all know parents that are like that, but if you were like, mommy, watch me, and mommy never wanted to watch you, I mean, that is still a form of rejection.
Yes.
It could be losing a parent at a young age, and it could also be being abandoned by a parent.
Yes.
And these are all just forms of rejection that can set in, root in. Just looking at my list here. I think that's the most of what I wrote down. But I'm sure that you guys can, think of different instances that you guys have had to go through that can really root a form of rejection.
Yeah, and I feel like even where we can reject ourselves through comparisons. It's like, I don't have that much money as that person,
Yes.
Or like, I don't have like the latest, coolest gadgets, whatever. And then you start to question yourself.
Yeah, or she has blue eyes and I don't. Or her hair is so long and mine's so thin.
Yeah, and it's like, that's when you start to like, you doubt yourself. So I think it's like, also being kind, like keeping your inner voice in check as well.
Well, and making sure that you are really practicing self-love, because I don't think that you go through as much of that rejection on like yourself if you're really practicing like self-love, which is hard because you have so much rejection that you've gone through your entire life, whether it's on your own, the part like on your own part in your own mind, or if it's coming from somebody else. I think that either way.
Yeah. And I will also say, like, in terms of like how to practice self-love, I think what could really help is like, even if you do face that rejection, like for me, like I started rejecting the rejection. Like, no, I'm a bad bitch. Yeah. That's penetrating.
Yes. Yeah.
It's like rejecting the rejection.
Sorry.
Like, no, like I'm the fucking best. Like I'm amazing. I am incredible. I am wonderful.
Yes.
And it's like, then you start to have to like give yourself props for even putting yourself out there. It's like, do you know how like powerful that is?
Yes.
Like to just put yourself out there. Like say even if it's like asking somebody for their phone number or something and they say like no, it's like, do you know how powerful that is? What you just did is like the fact that you just like, you liked what you saw and you asked for their phone number. Like that's powerful in itself. Or even like applying for a college, it's like the fact that you even did that.
Yes. And I'm so glad that you brought that up, because I do think even like, okay, applying to be on other people's podcasts, like even if you get rejected, you just have to say, you know what, I am so proud of you for putting yourself out there. And if they tell you no, then you know what? All that was just practice. It was just practice to put yourself out there, because you are never going to be everybody's cup of tea.
And
that's not a thing.
You don't have to be.
You just have to be your own cup of tea. And then the people whose tea you are going to be attracted to you.
Sip me up!
On the tea. Yes. Yes. So, yeah, I think that once you're okay with rejection, like once you see and remove that limiting belief, because once you see it and you're like, oh shit, that's what it is, you're like, okay, that's over here now. And then you can use rejection as a practice.
Yes.
Almost.
And I feel like it's like, we just have to like carry that energy like it's a baby, like protect it, love it, nurture it. It's like that energy that helps you put yourself out there. We have to like harness it and hold it and love it. Like, thank you so much for doing this for me. Like where we have to like practice self-gratitude. Like, thank you so much for like giving me a chance.
Yes.
Thank you so much for believing in me. Like to ourselves, you know? And like, okay, another thing that I've been doing, and it's really fun because it's like you get to laugh at the audacity of yourself. Okay. It's like playing this like rejection game. It's kind of like rejection therapy.
Okay.
Where it's like, okay, I have a goal, it's something I want to manifest. Shoot, like who, like say if it's like, okay, so for me, like if it was to speak at a conference, it's like, okay, let's just email that like director of the conference and see what happens. Yes. And like, hey, I want to be a speaker. Yes. Like I want to do this. Yeah. Like, and
Because literally, what is your worst case scenario?
Exactly.
And what if they say yes?
Exactly.
And then you're like, oh my God.
I'm speaking.
Yes, exactly. Like, don't ever not chase an opportunity because of fear of rejection. Because what if that was the one step that you needed to be in front of 100,000 people, and then boom,
we're good.
The universe was just like, hey, here's a test. Like, you know, and as soon as you pass the test, your entire life has changed.
Exactly. So it's like, that's what makes it fun too. It's like maybe that part of like not taking it too seriously, because it's like we're obviously like we're here and we're worthy of being alive. And like I said before, it's like we're worthy of following our dreams. Like that is my right. That's all of our divine rights, is following our dreams. So it's like, once you kind of accept, like, it's gonna happen regardless. It's inevitable.
Yes.
Everything is rigged in our favor. We're supposed to, like, follow our dreams. And it's, like, maybe that point where you can just relax and allow. It's a balance, I think.
Yeah,
it's
and
like,
stop worrying about the how.
Stop worrying about the how. And it's also, like, you know, hey, I'm just gonna hit this person up. And let's have fun with it. And because it's something I want to do. I know it's going to happen. I don't have to stress too much, but let's have a little fun with it.
Right.
So it's like, let me hit this person up and see if I can, like, if they'll say yes.
Yeah. Getting to a place of enjoyment. Yes.
And that's something that's
and not worry.
Yeah, not worry.
Yeah, I think it's good that you're constantly working on it. I mean, you know, all of it is a challenge. I mean, getting to where you want to be. It's just a continuous journey.
It's always like, that's when you realize, like, even when you meet the goal, like, you're just gonna make another goal.
A bigger goal.
A better goal.
Yeah,
a better goal. So it's like, yeah, it is like the reminder of like enjoying the journey. I feel like we're touching on so many points right now.
Yeah.
But, like, I feel like our listeners are like,
yeah,
they get us, right?
Yeah, definitely. Is there anything else that you want to touch on?
I feel like I spoke on so much. I can't really think. Yeah, no, I feel like we talked a lot.
Yeah, I know. I love it. It's so great.
I love it.
So, why don't you tell our listeners where they can find you?
Yeah, so if you want to find me, you can go to my website, elahndanee.shop. It's spelled ELAHNDANEE.shop. And then you can also find me on Instagram, Elahn Danee Codes, and on YouTube, Elahn Danee Codes. Honestly, I'm pretty much everywhere. So, yeah, that's my name, Elahn Danee Codes. So, yeah.
We'll have everything in the show notes, too.
Yes.
Okay, well, this was so awesome. Thank you so much for coming on here with me today.
Thank you for having me. This was fun.
I know. You know how much I love you.
I love you, too.